Hi, I'm Simon. This is Maximum RGB. Today we're in Photoshop and we're going to be looking at basic selections, and I mean real basic selections. Okay, so let's get going. Here's an image we're just going to have in the background there initially. And the selection tools we're going to be looking at today are here in the toolbar. They're the rectangular marquee tool, the elliptical marquee tool. Then underneath, next tool down, we've got the lasso tool, the polygonal lasso tool, and the magnetic lasso tool. And then one more tool below that, we've got two more tools below that. We've got the magic wand and the quick selection tool. So just going to quickly run through those. Initially starting off with actually asking ourselves, what exactly do we mean by selection? What is a selection? So if I get the marquee tool, click and drag on the image, we have this selected area. We have this line actually, which represents the selected area. And this line, the shimmering line, which is commonly referred to as the marching ants. Okay. So when that area is selected with the marching ants, it means if we do anything at all to the layer, then it will only occur within the selected area, nice and simple. So if we go image, for instance, image adjustments, hue and saturation, then when we apply the hue and saturation, it only occurs within the selected area of the marching ants. Okay, that's the one of the key purposes for making a selection. The other thing you might want to do with a selection is copy it. If you have a selected area, you can edit and you can copy. And then once you have it copied, that copies that information to the clipboard on the computer, and you can go edit, paste. When you paste in Photoshop, it crops up over here as a new layer. It's by default called layer 1. And because the contents are on another layer, if you get the move tool over here, you can move the contents of that layer around. So you can copy an area of your background layer, for instance, and paste it to another layer and use it separately. You could also switch to a completely different image and paste it over there. I'll just show you briefly. If we get this image here and we go edit, paste, then you'll see that it crops up here. Much smaller in this case because of resolution issues, high resolution image with a low resolution insert in this case. Okay. Anyway, so that's why we want to make selections, because we want to do things to selected areas of the image, specific selected areas of the image. So let's just look at how we can build up more complex shapes with simple selection tools. And these are simple basic selection tools. Going back to the marquee tool again, we have this. We click and drag with the marquee tool. We have our initial basic selection. Okay, if we hold down, this is where it gets to be a little bit more fun. If we hold down the shift key, you'll see a little plus sign come up in my cursor. A little plus sign come in my cursor. Then I can click and drag again, and we're adding to the selection now. Adding to the selection. Could be in a separate place altogether, adding to the selection. Alternatively, you can use the Alt key, the alternative key, and when you hold the Alt key down, you get a little minus in your cursor, and with the Alt key held down, we can now subtract from the selection. Subtract from the selection. Okay, so Shift to add and Alt to subtract. Okay, so Command D to get rid of the selections. Let's just look at the select menu quickly, because it's quite a big deal. Selections, they get the whole menu of their own. So select menu over here. Select menu, and there's quite a few things down here more advanced we'll come back to in future videos, but for now we've just got select all, which will select all on the canvas around the edge there. You've got deselect, very important, to unselect, Command D shortcut, and if we have an active selection, then you've got inverse selection, also very useful. So inverse selection would be the reverse to the initial selection. Just to prove that, image adjustments, hue saturation, so you can see what's happening in the inverse area. Okay, great. And cancel, Command D to get out of that selection. So there's our rectangular marquee tool. And another little thing is, before you do any selections at all, if you hold the Shift key down, you will get a regular square. That rectangle will turn into a square with the Shift key down. Hope that's not confusing. Your initial selection, then Shift will add to the selection. But when you're making the first selection, if you hold the Shift key down, then you will get if you hold the Shift key down, you will get regular square. You will also get regular circle if you choose the elliptical marquee tool and you hold the Shift key down, then you will get a regular circle shaped selection, marching ants. Or without the Shift key, you will get elliptical shapes to your choosing, depending on how you drag the mouse. Okay, Once you have the selection, then you can hold the shift key again and we can get the add to selection. You can switch tools as well, so rectangular marquee tool, add to the selection, or alt key to subtract from the selection. Okay, there we go. Lots of fun now with adding and subtracting from selections. Next selection tool down underneath here we have the Lasso tool. Okay, the regular Lasso tool means that I can create my own selection shape. So if I want to say, I don't know, say I want to draw a nice big S for Simon, you can do that freehand with the Lasso tool. Okay, Command D to deselect. Supposing I want to select the sky or separate the sky from the sand dune, then freehand with the Lasso tool I can try and go around the edge of this freehand. And it's okay, it's not very good, my hand's not that steady, I haven't really hit on the edge there, and it's not a fantastic selection of the sky, it's a little bit dubious in fact, but it's a starting point. Command D to deselect. Let's move along here. Actually, I'm going to just come back to the polygon in a minute. Let's go to the magnetic lasso tool, because with the magnetic lasso tool, this is going to help us greatly when it comes to selecting the edge of the dune here. Magnetic lasso tool is slightly different in that here it's going to use information that's already there in the image, i.e. the sky is blue and the dune is orange. So if I try and select that edge there, this time with the magnetic lasso tool, you'll see that Photoshop is magnetizing itself along that edge. It's seeing that edge and it's magnetizing itself along that edge. Okay, and it's grabbing to it like that. Okay, so let's just come down here to the bottom and work our way around. So if I wanted to make a selection of the sand, there we go. Close up the selection there. Let me do that one more time, Command D. So it's sensing there is a contrast, a difference between the orange of the sand and the blue of the sky, and it's magnetizing. As it magnetizes, it drops down these anchor points as it goes along. If it does skate off and put one in the wrong place or something like that, you can use the backspace key, remove the last anchor point, and one at a time as you go back. And then you can also click in your own ones if you want. You can click anytime you like and add your own ones in there. All right. There are some settings in the options bar. Let's quickly go around there. Some settings up here, contrast width, so whether the selection is feathered, that's a different video altogether. The width is the area which it'll hunt across 10 pixels. The contrast, how much contrast it's looking for before it detects that as a difference, and the frequency is the number of anchor points it lays down. Okay, so that's enough for us to be thinking about for right now. Command D to get rid of it. Okay, so magnetic lasso tool definitely has its uses. The other one, polygonal lasso tool. I kind of like that word, polygonal lasso tool. Polygonal lasso tool, again, goes back to being quite separate from the image, and it works slightly differently. We click on the image and we can we just click where we want to join up straight edges to make a polygonal shape. All right, so you just click and it draws straight lines. Apple D, click, 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 click. You need to go back to the beginning to close off the shape, and you need to once you've started using this, you can't change your mind and try and choose another tool until you've finished making your selection and then switch tools to something else. Okay, otherwise you will get stuck within the polygonal tool and not be able to operate. All right, moving swiftly on to our last two tools over here for this session. We have Quick Selection and Magic Wand. Going to start with the Magic Wand tool first. It's a much older tool in Photoshop. It's been around for a long, long time. Magic Wand works according to information in the image again. So if we want to select the sand dune here, we click on the sand dune somewhere and Photoshop skates off looking for other pixels that are similar to the one that I clicked on. I'll repeat that. Photoshop skates off looking for other pixels that are very similar to the one that I clicked on. If I click over here, it will skate off looking for pixels that are similar to the pixel I clicked on over here. Okay, you can still use the Shift key, so you can click, 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 and with the Shift key down, we can soon add to that selection. Could flip over to the Lasso tool, hold the Shift key down, get these stray little pixels in there, we have a complete selection. Magic wand. One more time, or a few more times in fact. Click off and skate off and look at similar pixels. Now the question is, how tolerant should it be? Up here, there's a tolerance setting. How tolerant should it be to how similar to the original pixel I clicked on? How tolerant should it be? If I increase the tolerance setting to say, it starts off at 32, that's the default number in Photoshop. If I increase it to say 100, then when I click here, it's going to be a lot more tolerant because the tolerance setting is higher, and include loads more pixels in the selection that Photoshop finds. Okay, if I had an edge here which is a lot harder to detect, then I would need to reduce the tolerance and make it very intolerant to maybe say a tolerance of 5 or something like that. That would be a lot less tolerant, it'd be more intolerant, and you'll see when I use that it just picks up a much smaller selected area on the whole. Okay. The other very significant part of the magic wand is over here where it says contiguous or not. So contiguous means that Photoshop will only select pixels that are continuously connected back to the place where I initially clicked. So if I click in the white area of the sky here, for instance, the pixels it selects are within the tolerance range of 32, the default number, but they're also continuously all tied back to the point where I clicked on. Okay, they're all continuously tied back. If I untick contiguous, then when I click in this area here, it will pick up other areas of white that are within the tolerance range, but they're not connected back to the original place where I clicked. Okay, hopefully that makes some sense. Sometimes it's very useful to have it on to use contiguous, and sometimes it's going to be useful to take it off. Okay. Then a few years back, Photoshop came out with a quick selection tool, which in simple situations like this sand dune and the sky is quite simply magical. We just click and drag across the area that we want to select, and Photoshop does the rest for us. It just makes that selection. So quick selection tool. When you have a very simple selection like this, where there's clear definition and difference between the area that you want to select and not select, then the quick selection tool is indeed very effective. That's all we've got time for. My name's Simon, this is Maximum RGB. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and see you again soon.